Okay, so we're live now? Yes, thanks, Brandy. So I'll call this meeting to order. And can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Sherry and Doug, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. Any conflicts of pecuniary interest? Undeclared. Can I get approval of the minutes of our April 15th meeting, please? Sherry and Wendy, any discussion arising from those minutes? None? All in favor? That's carried. Similarly, a motion to receive the minutes of the public meeting from 15th April. Mover, Doug. Seconder, Wenda. Any discussion on that set of minutes? None declared. All in favor? And finally, receive the minutes of the special session of council from April 30th. Sherry and Wenda, any discussion from those minutes? None? All in favor? That's carried. Our delegation is canceled, I guess probably because we ran so late with the public meeting and Mr. Neisman will reschedule. Bylaws and resolutions. This is coming out of our public meeting. The Menard zoning bylaw amendment application D03 2023, southwest corner of Ballpark Drive and Addington Street in Tamworth, part lot, etc. Recommendation that the report submitted by Emma Stuck of Arcadis Professional Services, read this application be received, and that a bylaw to be numbered, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2014-744, the zone change from Hamlet Residential to Hamlet Commercial, be enacted and passed, and that the Reeve clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get a mover and seconder for that motion? Wenda and Sherry, any discussion? Yes, Wenda, go ahead.
I'd just like Wendy to bring up her point again about the research for the marketing. Remember you said earlier in the meeting that it wasn't an appropriate place, but I think this is.
It's
it not?
just for information that she's interested, I guess, Wendy, is that
Oh,
that
okay.
right?
You didn't want any research done on that?
No,
No.
because he was here, I just wanted to ask him.
Gotcha.
Right,
But I didn't realize.
okay. Anything else? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. And the next one is a bylaw to appoint an interim fire chief. And the recommendation is that bylaw 2024, being a bylaw to appoint an interim fire chief, be enacted and passed, and that the Reeve clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get a mover for that? Wenda and Krista Lee, any discussion, or did you want to do a report? It's very straightforward. Obviously, we need someone to fill that role. Any discussion on that? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. You're the chief. I appreciate your stepping up there, James. And further down, we don't have financial accounts tonight. Township clerk, this is the application for the festival on the long weekend, the Flame Ontario Special Event Permit application. Recommendation that council receive the report entitled Flame Ontario Special Event Permit Application Update, and that council approve the special events permit. Sherry's moving that. Crystal Lee is seconding. Anything you want to add to that report, Brandy?
Nothing further Reeve-wise, thank you.
Any discussion? Yes, Wendy, go ahead.
Quick question. Have staff received any concerns from people in the surrounding area? I have one person in mind.
I have not received any written or phone calls with concerns noting. I know the applicants did send out communication to neighboring properties to let them know that the event was happening and they'd be doing sound testing. And I haven't received any follow-up correspondence from residents at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Public Works and Emergency Services Mutual Aid Coordinator. The recommendation coming out of this report is that council receive it and that council endorse by way of a signed letter that Deputy Chief James Richmond, I guess chief now, be appointed alternate mutual aid coordinator for Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington Fire Departments. Mover is Sherry. Seconder is Wendy. Any discussion? Anything from staff on this one? So just a question. This is is something that changes how often, James? Is this an annual change of this position, or how does this come about?
Through your revise. So the way it works is if there's a vacancy, then the mutual aid chiefs will vote on an appointment to that vacancy. So recently there's been some vacancies due to some staffing changes in neighboring departments. And as I mentioned in the report, the KFLNA chiefs try to have one coordinator from the Frontenac areas and another from the LNA areas. So I was nominated for essentially the LNA seat, and I accepted. And so as part of the process of being officially appointed is a letter from yourself and the council essentially endorsing it, yes.
I just wanted to understand the context. Thanks, James. So any further discussion? Doug? Oh, okay. And do I have a seconder? I thought we already got one. Yeah, I'd forgotten. Sorry. So who were the mover and seconder?
Councillor Milligan and seconded by Councillor
McDonald, right. Thanks. Sorry about that. So all in favor? That's carried. Boy, we've given you 2 jobs just like that. Thanks, James. Nothing under building, committee and board reports and minutes. Anyone have anything to offer? It's only you that's on another committee, Crystal Lee. What's happening at the Conservation Authority besides the government wants to take it over completely now?
Well, that's still good. That's still ongoing. But beyond that, we're revitalizing the Quinte Conservation Foundation as a vehicle for fundraising. So Quinte Conservation has been granted, I believe it's the first conservation in Ontario or in Canada, to sell carbon credits. And with that money that we'll be able to fundraise, the hope is to be able to buy other land to protect, whether that's environmentally sensitive or water sensitive areas that the conservation deems as important. So we've begun that recruiting. So if you know anybody who might be a good asset to the Quinte Conservation Foundation, reach out to me. I can send you the kind of blurb, or maybe I'll just send it to council anyway in case you have anybody in mind. And I think we're accepting applications till the end of the month. And then that's really the big change, is kind of trying to get this foundation off the ground as a tool for generating income to do interesting things. So
Glad to hear that's still going on. It was a little bit dormant there for a while, but the other issue of this new provincial legislation, basically being able to just reverse conservation order decisions, I'm wondering where that's at. I haven't had time to keep up with it, frankly.
it's hard to fully understand. So my understanding is that like an announcement came out at like the end of March and it had to be implemented in like, I want to say 2 weeks, and there was no notification in advance. Nobody knew. So as you know, Conservation Ontario, which Quinte Conservation is a member of, and they try to navigate this legislation, they're still sort of interpreting all that it means. I'm trying to think of the one point that was presented as like, so there's one change it seems like it's a little change, but then when you look at that little change overall, it's quite large. I'm trying to think of what the language is on that. But then one of the other ones is now that I believe the minister can independently and unilaterally overrule local planning decisions, which is a little undemocratic. But I believe that's one of the changes now under the Conservation Act, is that the minister can override municipal decisions independently, or like as one person.
Yeah, there's no process. It's just by fiat. So it's quite alarming. But it's part of a pattern right from the moment that the government came into power. One of the first things they did was to basically attack the Conservation Authority system. But it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Thank you, Crystal Lee. Items for consideration. We've got a request from Andrea Lettner regarding the capital funding opportunity. And it's basically that council provide direction. Can I get a motion to put that on the floor, please? Sherry and Wenda. I'm not sure to whom I should direct this on staff. Council has not had any plan to build a new recreation center. It's not in our budget. I tried to find out what the funding split on this was. Jake, do do you know anything about this program beyond what has been announced? It's 200 million bucks. Is it a 50-50 split? Is it an outright 100% grant? I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I couldn't find out very much about this fund.
Yeah, to be blunt, I haven't reviewed the application. The first thought that jumped to mind was that, we're having difficulties budgeting for a recreation master plan. And I think we really, as a municipality, need to plan, where we're going before we start doing probably, many millions of dollars into a facility. So that was my original thought, and I'm glad they're kind of looking out for these things. But I just think that we need to map out through a recreation master plan where we're going before we really start, filling out applications for new buildings.
And where are we at with that recreation master plan? I've forgotten, did we move that we adopt one? Is it just something we've been kicking around? Where are we at with that?
I can jump in on that. Reeve Wise, thanks. So the chronology of that was we included in our draft budget for 2024, and staff pulled it out of our draft budget before it made it to your table because we were concerned about staffing in managing that project in 2024. So we have that tabled in a sort of a back folder for a 2025 budget in the hopes that we get some, back up to a staffing resource level internal that we feel we have confidence in actually executing that. And I say that because of our experiences with things like the development charges background study that was approved in 2022, maybe. We've been working through it, and in all honesty, it's taken us longer, and it's been more difficult in getting the data to the consultant to support us in giving us a study. As much as we can say that we're receiving support from external agencies and consultants, it's still very much locally driven in what data we have, and we felt the same for our recreational assets. So that for that reason, we plan at staff's level to introduce that back into our 2025 budget. You did not miss it in 2024.
That's great, thank you. That's all I need. Thanks. So what's the wishes of council on this? Is it just to receive? Yeah, okay. No, it would be way premature to put in an application. We don't have a plan, let alone shovel-ready plan. So, all right, all in favor then of receiving? I think I got moved and seconded. Yes, I thought so. Thank you. County of Lennox and Addington Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee requests that township support Prince Edward County resolution regarding a call to action to meet the deadline of an accessible Ontario by 2025. Can I get a motion on this, please? Wenda and Sherry, any further discussion or any discussion at all? It hasn't been a discussion yet. Wenda, go ahead.
Right. And so would the motion would say that we
Yeah.
move to support? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. New business and statements from members. Wenda, go ahead.
So I had received an email from a constituent a couple of months ago, and then it's also come back just recently. I think we all got it about the 5 corners in Tamworth and the parking and the little sidewalk cafe. And I just wondered, we need to put that on the table for discussion, I think.
Go ahead,
a
Jason.
report.
Sorry, through you, Reeve Wise, I can speak to that, Councilor Line, because I believe I was the only staff member copied on the communication today as a reminder. I can confirm it's been received. I also confirm that I've forwarded and I'm working with Mr. Veras on that in Mr. Thompson's absence. I also looking at the email quickly today from our constituent, I didn't see Mr. Thompson's response, but I do recall Mr. Thompson responded to the constituent, and I hope they received it. I don't know. I haven't spoke to them directly, but I will reach out and make sure that Mr. Veras is aware of that previous response, because I'm not sure if he was copied on it at the time. But so I guess my comment is it's been received. it's at staff's level. It was just received this afternoon. We will be working and getting a response back to our constituent. But as you know, it won't be from Mr. Thompson in the immediate future. So Mr. Veras has got some time to get up to speed on it before pulling together a response.
Do you think that he would want direction from council?
Through you, Reeve-Wise, I don't want to speak to that. I will, in his absence, I want to make sure I have the opportunity to talk to him. I didn't get the chance this afternoon after receiving it. He was on site. But if I will report back, I'm not sure.
It's a tough one because there's obviously some technical issues there that have to be straightened out, and council doesn't really have any expertise in that regard. So that would have to be clarified first. So whatever Ian comes up with, if it requires council discussion, then that's the time that we would look at it, I think. Anyone else? New business statements from members? Yes, Crystal Lee.
Just to add on, I have my notes from the what's changed in the act, just to let you know, because you caught me off guard and I was like, I don't know what to say. So that was two of the changes. So to issue a permit, there's 5 tests: flooding, pollution, erosion, the conservation of land, and I believe I have dynamic beaches. What was removed was to protect the natural aspect of a shoreline. And then it's changed to regulated areas. And I'm not sure if this relates just to provincially significant wetlands, but where the regulated areas in which they offer comment, it used to be 120 meters away, and now it's down to 30, which is a 75% reduction. So right up next to now, only within 30 meters can they offer comment. If it's 40 meters away, they aren't to comment.
That's interesting. I suppose you've been getting some of this stuff too, or maybe you've been deliberately ignoring it.
Yeah.
Since you were away.
Sure, yeah, that one's buried. If I did, our documentation still speaks to the requirement of an environmental impact assessment or an environmental a site review if you're within 120 meters of a provincially significant wetland. So just, I got some reading to do, but I think it's either necessitating an update on our documentation or we continue, if not challenged, with our status quo and requiring those types of studies.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Rob.
Just a simple one. I'll elaborate on this more when we don't have such a full agenda and a long night. But as you know, some of us attended OGRA there not too long ago, and I attended a few seminars. Some are better than others, as always. But one in particular was it was incredible. The panel that was up front were the folks that actually design the minimum road standards. And you've got the people right in front of you that make those decisions, and they review them every 4 years and make them. And the holes that they were finding in our current minimum road standards were just shocking. The lawyer in particular who was on the board was just a genius. I went from being one of those, this could be a very dry seminar, to fascination. And I made a lot of notes that I would like to share because we have a lot of roads. Everything from when you install a crosswalk. Remember, now it's almost a sidewalk. So the minimum standards of care for that can't be a road anymore. You have to think about that and how to maintain aprons and the legalities behind that. And if they access certain places, they are walkways now. And so I made a lot of notes. I was writing as fast as I could. And actually the gentleman was selling a book. So I purchased it because it would be wonderful for us to have as a reference. So anyways, that was just actually awesome. I wish it had been 3 hours long. And to some people that's pretty dry, but it's pretty valuable in our world. That and down in the trade show, meeting people that have found ways to applying for a rebate on PTO-driven equipment because you pay a road tax on the fuel. But when it's driving, for example, a pumper, and you got your trucks and they're sitting idling, or they're running a piece of equipment and they're burning that fuel, you can apply to get a rebate back on the road fuel, the tax portion of the fuel. Because of that. And this company will do everything for you, and they take a small portion of what they get, and there's no work to staff, nothing. It's just a found check. So I know that in my conversations with Mayor Kennelly from Tyendinaga, we had an in-depth conversation that he was in the process of looking into it, and I'd like to contact him until he's making out. But just some found money here and there, and lots of really important thing for our roads department. So I'll elaborate on that later when I get it typed up. And but I wanted you to know that when we go to these conferences, I'll tell you there's a lot of really great stuff that comes home with us sometimes.
Thanks, Rob. That could be quite valuable. Anyone else? Okay, we have a closed meeting to deal with employee negotiations. So I need to move in second to go into close, right, Randy? Can I get that from Wenda and Crystal Lee? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we don't have